Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for Tuesday, April the 14th. Pardon me, Thursday, April the 14th, 2016. Good to have you all here for our second of two shows this week. Apologize. Wow, I want to go back to earlier in the week, apparently. Everybody else wants to get to the weekend. I want to go back to earlier in the week, apparently, by what I just said. I apologize for that. Yes, it is Thursday, the 14th of April, here in the Spotlight 401 show here on this Thursday night, our second of two shows this week. Thank you for joining us here. Hope your week is treating you well. We have a few. We don't have a lot to get to in terms of like what's going to take up a lot of time, but we have a lot of little things to touch on. So let me get things going here by reminding you of all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. Also, remember that you can follow us and tweet us at ITSpotlight411. You have some hashtag choices, so choose the ones you want to choose. You can either use hashtag ITSpotlight411, hashtag ITS5, that one for 5th anniversary on there as a podcast, or you can create your own hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Movies, whatever you want to do. Have fun, enjoy. Also, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you find our like our page upon finding it. All right, so here's the deal for tonight. I got statistics for you on the film awards. You've all been waiting about a month for them. I finally have them. We finally have the time to actually mention them on the air, so we will do that. We also will be unveiling our final American Idol all-time greatest performance rankings list that you've all been voting for over the course of the season of American Idol. Obviously, the series came to an end last Thursday. We'll talk about that in our entertainment news discussion segment later on in the show. In addition to that, we have the box office beat. We have TV highlights, all that good stuff here on tonight's show. One little announcement about next week. I mentioned on Tuesday that I would be announced. I mentioned what we're going to be doing next week. Obviously, Tuesday we'll do what we did this past Tuesday: sports, wrestling, our usual deal. You know, when we do two shows a week, we kind of are in our usual mode. You know, sports and wrestling on Tuesdays, entertainment on Thursdays. That will fall into place next week. We might do a special entertainment segment next Thursday. I'm not sure yet. I was hoping to announce that tonight. I don't know if we will. There's two ideas I have in mind, and I keep going back and forth. I'm kind of waiting to see if a certain piece of news comes out over the next couple of days that might tilt me in favor of discussing that. So that's why I kind of can't commit to. I hate to be non-committal, but I'm waiting for a piece of news to be announced that I know is coming. I can't say on the air, but I know it's coming. So I'm not sure if it's going to be out before next week or if it's going to linger even longer. And if it's out before Tuesday, I'll announce on Tuesday what we're going to be doing on Thursday. If not, then I'll have to kind of commit to one direction or the other by Tuesday. So I apologize for not going into further detail, but you know you'll get our usual segments next week on Tuesday and Thursday, and you know how it'll work. It's it'll be for the most part a normal week. We just might decide to do a special segment in addition to everything else next Thursday. A lot of people have emailed me. They said, "Are you going to, because we pride ourselves on kind of making adjustments on the fly. Even though it's an entertainment show, and something big happens in sports, will you talk about it? And a lot of times we do that if it's something that I feel like it's not worth leaving until Tuesday or until our next sports show or something like that, because it's something that might lose its relevancy. So obviously, I have a lot of mail from last night about what was and really the best night of the NBA in a long, long time. A long time. We're going to talk about that on Tuesday. First of all, we don't have a lot to talk about on Tuesday, so we probably should save something. But so we'll talk in depth about Kobe Bryant and what was, oh my God, one of the best performances, if not the best, to end a career you've ever seen. Obviously, there's Golden State and what they did last night. We'll talk all about that on Tuesday because I want to give enough time to that because those are historical kind of things that are worth going in depth about. I thought we all thought it was just going to be saying goodbye to Kobe. Some people show up. I don't think anybody thought that he'd do what he did last night, but very apropos what he did last night. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday, and we'll also talk about what happened with Golden State. Excuse me. on Tuesday. The NBA playoffs get underway this weekend. We'll give a playoff preview on Tuesday and go in depth. We already kind of went into it a little bit on Tuesday, but we'll go further in depth because we actually have the matchups now. We'll talk about the series as they're coming along. By the time we get to Tuesday, a couple of games have already been played, so we'll go in depth on some of those games. There'll be some coaching changes too. You're already hearing some rumblings about that. We might get into some of those as well on Tuesday. So there'll be a lot of NBA on Tuesday, which is, hey, it's that time of year. It's just the way it goes. So, all right, so for those of you expecting some sports discussion, we're gonna table that until Tuesday. Wrestling fans have asked me about some of the big news. Bray Wyatt, a lot's not known about that, so we'll wait and we'll talk about that more on Tuesday. But I do want to acknowledge, I didn't acknowledge this on Tuesday, and obviously Mike will probably back me up. My co-host Mike is in the spotlight. How you doing, Mike?
I'm exhausted and tired and want to go. Let's go.
Oh, goodness gracious. Wow. Hello to you too.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a couple, I don't want to, I didn't mention one of these names on Tuesday, and then another name has come about in the last couple of days, but there have been two losses from the wrestling world lately. I think we should acknowledge them. First of all, Balls Mahoney passed away. So we want to acknowledge that and our condolences to his fans and his family and friends and loved ones. And also, Blackjack Mulligan passed away. Was that over last weekend, right?
Yes.
And he's Bray Wyatt's grandfather, right? I apologize for getting this wrong. Yes. And he passed away over the weekend, so we obviously want to acknowledge that as well, and our condolences, thoughts, and prayers to his family and fans and loved ones. So we lost two great wrestlers this week, so I want to make sure that we acknowledge that here tonight. Okay, so right off the top here, I'm going to give you all the Film Award statistics first because that's quick. I don't want to get into the American Idol stuff yet. So just give me a moment here. I already have them all prepared. So basically what we're going to do here is this. I'm just going to read them off to you. Anybody that has a question, wants to know something specific, like maybe you didn't hear something or whatever, I'll be happy to send you this information. So don't take it too seriously. And there's only again, that was intense. So I'm just going to read this off.
That was the first time that happened.
Yeah, it was actually awesome music. I'm not going to lie. All right,
yeah,
so I'm just going to read these off to you. I have the nominations.
Real quick, let me explain the music. I've been playing this Kingdom Hearts app for 8 days, and literally this is the first time I've gotten music.
I
have gone through 8 days and over 40 levels and over 100 missions, even over 100 missions with this game. And literally when I figure it's going to be on mute,
Yep.
Without fail. Maybe I should just do this more often on your show.
Hey, definitely.
Well, we're talking about American Idol. We're talking about American Idol, so I don't care. So.
We're not talking about American Idol right now. We're not even talking about American Idol.
Oh, I thought. We're doing something.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Something I'm not involved in. Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to get okay. Let me just note something. We got the nomination statistics and the winner statistics. For the nomination statistics, I did not. I gave you the totals per studio. I didn't go into too many specifics. If you want specifics, I'll email them to you. I don't want to. The nominations happened way back in February. I don't want to go all the way back to that. Well, I just don't. I got this. I broke down the winning statistics. I didn't break down the nomination statistics. So just bear with me on that. I'll give you the numbers for the studio, and that's more or less what people are interested in anyway. Obviously, if you look at some of these, like Star Wars dominated, Jurassic World, so on and so forth dominated. So, if you want more specific statistics, you can email me about it or tweet me or Facebook me, and I will be happy to give you more in depth on that. But as far as nomination statistics go, before we get to the winners here, Disney led the nominations this year with 79. Universal was second with 58. Fox third with 39. Warner Brothers right up there with 28. Sony Columbia with 16. A24 and Lionsgate came in with 9. Paramount with 7. Miramax Roadside with 6. as well as the Weinstein Company with 6, Open Road with 5, and Netflix with 2. So those are the nominations. Again, if you want more specific ones, like how nominations as it relates to films or certain actors, I'll be happy to give those to you. I don't have them right with me right now. I just thought most people were asking about the studio numbers, so that's why I gave them those to you in particular. I didn't really get too much. I didn't get really any questions about, specific films, how many nominations they got, and actors, and so on. But I did get them kind of questions for the winners as far as how those statistics went. That's why I broke those down. All right, as far as the studios go, as far as the winners of the film awards this year, Disney led the pack with 21 winners this year. And second place was Universal and Fox with 6, Warner in third with 5, and then Weinstein Company with 3, and A24 with 1. As far as the actors go, there's several with 1. I'm not going to name them. There's only 3 actors or actresses that had multiple wins, and those were John Boyega, Taron Egerton, and Daisy Ridley. They all had 2. As far as movies go, the movie that led the pack as far as wins was Star Wars with 10, which is no shock there. Inside Out came in right behind it with 5. And then after that, you had several movies with 2. Good Dinosaur, Get Hard, Pitch Perfect, Trainwreck. I should say Kingsman came in above all of them with 3, so don't forget that. Ant-Man, Avengers, Hateful Eight, Mad Max, Creed, all won 2. And then you had a bunch of movies that only won 1. Furious 7, The Martian, Steve Jobs, Joy, Revenant, Room, Hunting Ground, and Straight Outta Compton. So those are your film award statistics. Again, if you want more specifics or I have any other questions, you can email, Facebook, or tweet us here at the show, and I'll be happy to provide those for you. Now that we got that over with, one other piece of news to address, another little bit of news here. The American Idol all-time performance rankings list. Now, okay, I should tell you well, we'll leave that for right now. Let's do the box office first, and then we'll do that in entertainment, because we're going to talk about American Idol later. So let's break that up a little bit. That's not. I don't think it's a good time to do that, because I just spent 5 minutes reading something off. So let's break it up a little bit. All right. So with that being said, we will jump now into the box office, since we're just talking about films. Why not do that? And we'll talk about this week at the box office. First of all, the headline as we go into this weekend continues to be the other complete collapse of Batman versus Superman. Now look, this is the only movie in probably history that we'll talk about that's made $800 million worldwide. That's considered a failure. And don't look, I don't want to play this game where people are like, oh my gosh, he's a Marvel fanboy. Look, I like DC. I grew up liking DC more than I liked Marvel. I'm not even kidding. I did. It has nothing to do with that. I want the DC movies to be good. I'm a big Batman fan. I want these to be good. I don't want them to fail. We all had bad feelings about this the entire time. We all did. All right. It had a good opening, a great opening, and it did exactly what Man of Steel did. It fell completely off the map the second weekend, and it fell again the third weekend. When you start on your third Friday, if you can't even beat a movie that came out in 1989, all right, Batman 1989, Tim Burton's original Batman movie had a better third Friday than Batman v Superman. And that's, considering inflation and considering the fact that the 89 Batman movie opened with only 40-something million dollars, that is horrendous. Sorry, it's horrendous. I don't care if the Transformers movies have big drop-offs, but they don't even have drop-offs like this. This is horrific. This is horrific. It is not going to make $1 billion worldwide. It's barely gotten to 800 million. It just barely grazed 300. It's not hitting 400. If it does, it's very lucky. And now, you got the Jungle Book coming out this weekend, which is going to take all of its IMAX theaters, all of its RPX theaters, all of the 3D theaters away from it. So it's going to basically finish it off. And boy, it couldn't get any worse for them than having Captain America Civil War have its, big premiere this week, and the critic embargo got lifted, and it's up to 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and not a single bad review for that movie yet. And you don't want to compare the two, but all the discussion's been about how how disappointing it's been for Batman versus Superman, and then the movie that's is following is the Marvel version of that is getting glowing reviews. So you can't win here if you're DC or Warner Bros. You really can't win. You can't win. I mean, it just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. Um, Look, it is what it is. The movie has floundered, and we'll have to see what they decide to do with this. And then it doesn't even come in first place last weekend. The Boss comes in first place. I know it was only by 200,000, but still. And we all thought that chance was there because it's Melissa McCarthy. And the way Batman versus Superman was falling, and then it dropped another 50% and underperforming, you kind of saw this coming. And people can sit there and they can go, oh, it's a bad time of year for. No, it's not. April's become a big time for movies. This year has been a good time for movies. Zootopia is in its 6th week, and it's only dropping 25%. It's making $14.3 million. I mean, don't make this excuse that it's a bad time for movies. This movie had no competition for 3 weeks. The Boss is not competition for Batman and Superman. It's not. Completely different audiences. Maybe one could piggyback on the other if they open together, but come on now. Melissa McCarthy's movie beat it, barely, but it did. Batman vs. Superman is going to lose all of its big theaters, high-priced theaters, IMAX, etc. this week, and it's going to drop below 20 million. Maybe it makes 12, 13 million, and it's going to crawl its way to maybe about 350 million domestic, and about maybe 900 million worldwide. And for many, you're going to look at that and go, "Wow, that's great for a movie." But when you consider if you've read the articles, if you consider how much DC and Warner Brothers said that this movie had to make a significant profit, okay, a significant profit. It said that it had to make around 800 to 900 million. So it's not going to make a significant profit. This movie cost a lot of money between promotions and merchandising and budget, and it is not going to make a huge profit for the studio. And then they have to reevaluate things. They're about to film Justice League, and I don't know how they can consider doing that under the same circuit. They're already apparently doing reshoots for Suicide Squad. I mean, it is a complete and utter catastrophe, which we all called. So there's that. That's the headline. Thankfully, that won't be the major headline this weekend because it's already fallen so much now that it's not even worthy of talking about anymore. The Boss isn't going to be a headline because it did well last weekend. It's going to drop off this weekend. Hardcore Henry came out last week, didn't do very well. No, look, the only chance that movie had is if the gimmick attracted enough people to the theater. It obviously didn't do it. It had a chance to. It didn't. The reviews heard it. It is what it is. Even though Batman vs. Superman's having a really hard time, more people are still going to go out to that than they are Hardcore Henry, and it shows up in the box office. Miracles from Heaven and God's Not Dead 2 are doing reasonably well, around 5 million. Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 dropped considerably in its 3rd week, but you'd figure that would do that right around what you thought. Zootopia is really the biggest success story of the last couple months other than Deadpool. Batman vs. Superman is a success story of in theory, you look at the numbers, it should be, but we obviously know there's more to it than that. I guess you can call The Boss a success. That's a good number for a 2nd week of April comedy release. I'll give it that. And it's got a budget of 29 million, so it's in good shape there. But as you go into this weekend, the headline is going to be The Jungle Book, which is directed by Jon Favreau of Iron Man 2, and among other things. He's done a lot of things. We all know that. First of all, this movie is getting glowing reviews. It's been well received. It's opening in 4,028 theaters, one of the best voice casts you can imagine, with Scarlett Johansson, Idris Elba, Lupita Nyong'o, Ben Kingsley, Christopher Walken, and Bill Murray. It's already made $28.9 million overseas. Has a very large budget of $175 million. Should have no issues with that. It's expected to do very, very, very well this weekend. And again, the glowing reviews are going to help it, and it's going to pretty much destroy the theater counts for Batman versus Superman. In addition to Jungle Book, there's another movie that's expected to have a good opening this weekend. That's Barbershop, the next cut comedy from Warner Brothers. That's opening in 2,661 theaters. It's not even the second biggest opening of the weekend. It's the third biggest opening by a little bit. Ice Cube, Cedric the Entertainer, Regina Hall, Anthony Anderson, Common, and Nicki Minaj all star in this film. You know it's going to do very well. It's PG-13. There's a lot of anticipation for it. So you know that movie's going to do well. And then the second biggest release this weekend is Criminal, an action film from Lionsgate Summit, opening in 2,683 theaters, starring Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Costner, Gary Oldman, Tommy Lee Jones, Gal Gadot, and Alice Eve. It's R-rated, so it's not going to do huge business, but, you know, Ryan Reynolds, we saw what he did earlier this year with Deadpool. We'll see if Deadpool helps him out with any other movies outside of that. Obviously, a very good cast. It'll probably, I could see it doing about 12, 13 million. I don't think it's going to do huge business. Jungle Book's going to get the family audiences. You're probably, you know, Jungle Book has the power and the critic push behind it to probably have a 70 to $80 million weekend. It probably does. It's a family movie, even though it's got intense sequences. It's getting all these reviews. You know, I mean, other than Zootopia in early March, there hasn't been a family movie of late, other than some of the Christian films that have come out. That's really it. So, you know, this movie has the makings of pulling you know, before pre-summer big blockbuster weekend here. And then Barbershop will probably come in around. So I'd say low end of things, 65 million for Jungle Book, high end around 80. Barbershop's probably going to come in around 20 to 25, maybe a little more. And then Criminal, I can see maybe 12, 13, maybe as high as 15 if Ryan Reynolds gives it a big boost. You know, that's your weekend. And then Batman versus Superman will probably be right up down there with Criminal around 12, 13, 14 million. The way it's been dropping might even be lower, been underperforming based on what you think the whole time. You know, and Boss will probably drop to around 10 million or so, right around there. You know, only opened at 23 million. And then you'll probably have Zootopia right around 6, 7, 8 million. With Jungle Book out, it'll probably hurt that movie too a little bit. And you know, what theaters Batman vs. Superman's not already in, Zootopia still has, and they'll pretty much get wiped out by Jungle Book. You know, Disney will make sure of that. Zootopia's done well enough. And then everything else will be under 5 million. And that's your weekend. So this weekend, I think we kind of shift away. We know what's going on with Batman vs. Superman. Now we focus on Jungle Book. And these next few weeks as we build towards the summer movie season, Captain America, Civil War, and all the big blockbusters that'll be coming out over the course of the next 3 months. So, Mike, before we move on, do you have anything to add? Last weekend's box office, this weekend's box office?
Believe it or not, no. Batman versus Superman is just collapsing. It is what it is. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's disheartening in a way because, look, you don't want to see movies do bad, really. I mean, except for certain ones.
Right.
But the bad word of mouth, it killed it. The bad word of mouth, the fact that it was what it was just no fun, being preached to, bunch of bullshit, you know?
Right.
And, you know, it was well, see, I didn't waste any money on it. You did. But
I had a free movie
I
ticket.
didn't have. Well, I see you wasted. I didn't have to worry about, you know, it was just embarrassing. I know what I want to see, and that's not what I want to see.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't. It got terrible word of mouth, and well, it just was what it was. I need to pick that up. Unfortunately, it bodes poorly for Justice League.
Very poorly. I hope it could end up.
Poorly.
And it could end up hurting Suicide Squad as well. It could.
It could end up hurting Suicide Squad. So, you know, I don't know what they're expecting here, but they were obviously expecting $2 billion here, and their bad word of mouth, their nonsense, their arrogance had killed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the boss shouldn't have been competition for it, but oh well.
There it was.
Let me know when Civil War comes out because that's what I care about.
Yeah, apparently everybody does. This Rotten Tomato scores are ridiculous right now. All right, so that's the box office. There's not much else you can say. It is what it is. We'll move on. And we'll move on to the TV highlights of this week, which there's not a lot, I would say. For me, because I let Mike start last week, I'll start this week. For me, we'll be talking about the American Idol finale in a moment. That was one of them, but I'll leave my thoughts about that for a few minutes from now. First of all, I want to highlight the Blacklist, which had a fantastic return from hiatus last week. Bringing back the Solomon character, which I thought I was worried about that because I said, they're acting like he was going to be a bigger deal, and then they kind of pushed him away, and now they brought him back, and I think he's a great villain, Matthias Solomon. So I'm glad they brought him back in this two-parter here, which is going to culminate tonight. And it was a great. Other than the fact I'm not too crazy about the whole wedding arc thing that they got going on, because I think it's a little too quick to be doing the whole Liz and Tom happy ever after thing. But anyway, it was a really intense episode, and the it's been a very weird kind of transition. The first 10 episodes of the season were remarkable, and then it kind of went into this whole everything's about Liz and her baby and Tom and all this stuff. And now it's kind of come out of that, and it's starting to go back to some of the things. It's starting to pick up steam a little bit, and it kind of went into what a lot of these shows have had going on this year, which is these kind of mid-season lulls. Arrow had it. Mike knows that. Flash had it. A lot of these shows had it this year, and now it's starting to come out of it. And it was a nice little way to come back from the hiatus last week. So that was a really good episode. If you haven't checked that out, it'll culminate tonight. And according to James Spader, it's supposed to be like the biggest episode they've ever done, which is, I can't believe how big it could be. But so there's that. I want to highlight. I don't know if we talked about it last week, but last week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was tremendous, directed by Kevin Tancharoen, which if you're a Doctor Who fan, you probably enjoyed it. There was a lot of cool stuff in that, but just for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I mean, they do a good job week to week, but it was such a visual kind of spectacle kind of episode. Very, very interesting, like that really got your attention. You really have to watch it. You can't really kind of like use it as background. It was one of those episodes you kind of had to watch, but it was a really good development episode that kind of set up this week's episode, which was a good character development for Gideon Malik. And for the Grant Ward Hive story, which is starting to get really interesting, and they're really starting to pick up the momentum and build towards the finale. And some of these things, again, they kind of had, even though the episodes were okay, they kind of had they had kind of a lull too, where they're kind of like spending a couple of weeks developing things and trying to figure things out. And but it was the last 2 weeks they've done a lot of development, amping things up, so it's been good there. There's one more I wanted to say. I haven't watched Blind Spot, so I can't do that. I'm not going to talk about Arrow last week. I mentioned on the air last week my disappointment. That's not worth knowing. Flash has been fine. Flash was fine last week. That was a good episode. I'm fine with Flash. Legends of Tomorrow needs to improve, or it's going to be down the river. That's all I'm going to say about that. What was the other one? There's one more I wanted to mention. If you like Edward Nygma, check out Gotham, because that was a fantastic episode for him. Oh, and Penguin. Those two were the best. I mean, that made the episode for me. It really did. Thankfully, 75% of the episode was that, or it would have been crap, because the Gordon stuff was just horrendous. I know they've done this whole punishment arc and stuff, but you know what? It still hasn't done much for me with that. So, but the Nygma and Penguin stuff in that episode was really, really good. Although I will say this, even though the Penguin stuff was really good, it's kind of like, it reminds me a lot of last year, where right around the first half of the season, they did great things for Penguin, and then the middle part of the season, they kind of had him going in circles into the end of the season. It's kind of what they're doing this year. First half of the season, they did great things for Penguin. Middle of the season, they kind of have him going in circles, and it looks like they're building him towards something at the end of the season. So, I'm kind of sick of them doing that with that character, but it is what it is. But the Enigma stuff was really, really good. I'm hoping we see more of him this season, and that's not the end for this season for him. So yeah, that's all I got. Mike, TV highlights.
But I'm going to be totally frank and honest with you right now. That was a water bottle that fell. All right, end of honesty. I'm just kidding. Honesty. Here's where I'm being honest. Of all of the new television shows I've seen this week, it was none. No. We had a conversation, you and I had a conversation at depth about Arrow. And I haven't seen it yet. I have gone out of my way not to see it. I don't want to see it right now. I am not prepared for what Laura... I'm not going to spoil it, but I almost did. I pretty much did. I'm not going to be prepared for the character who is going to die's last words are, "I'm so glad you found Felicity." I had this conversation a couple nights ago with somebody else about the fandoms and how a lot of people are tired of things because of fandoms. And I said, look, you like what you like. As long as the fandom doesn't invade the show proper.
Right.
As long as it doesn't take over the show proper. What's on the screen, ignore it. They're welcome to your opinion. You're welcome to yours. And you're also welcome for it to not dampen enjoyment of the show. Arrow is the example of what not to do with a fandom. Because they let their fandom dictate one of the major storylines of the show. And this major storyline put most of season 3 in the shitter and put in literally has sabotaged season 4.
Yeah.
We are on a season and a half now of Arrow with this bullshit killing this show. And you know what? It's unbelievable that we even have to talk about it. But yes, I'm talking about Olicity. Olicity, yes, it's great for fan fiction. It's great for Tumblr. It's great for fan art. On screen, at this point, they have made Felicity into such a hypocrite. It is hard to watch. It's hard to get invested in her character. And that is doing a disservice to the actress, Emily Beck Rickards, who does a great job.
Oh.
They're doing a disservice to her. They're doing a disservice to Stephen Amell. They're doing a disservice to every other character on the show. At some point, it's got to stop. But at this point, it is killing this show. To a point where we just lost a major character who fans of the Green Arrow itself would be pissed off. Because this is a major character with mythos. Mythos with the character. Major history with the character. Tied directly to the character.
Yeah.
So no, I have not seen Arrow this week. I'm almost refusing to see 11:59 because I know once I do it, I'm just going to be so pissed off it's going to boggle my mind. I have not seen Flash or Legends or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I just don't want to right now. I just don't want to. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be fine. I know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be fine. If I don't Flash, it'll be fine. Legends of Tomorrow, I'm getting really pissed off with the fact they can't figure out how to... We're, 11, 12 episodes in, they can't figure out how to make these guys work together.
Yeah,
hey, I wonder when they're going to answer I wonder if they're going to answer this Mick Rory question, please. Who knows what happened to Mick? I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
The last couple of episodes I've missed haven't dealt with it at all, so what hope do I have for this episode? You know? Flash is probably the show I'm most likely going to see first. I don't know. I've been catching up with a show called Grantchester. It's another period detective piece on PBS Masterpiece. It's really good. What happens when you get a priest and a vicar walking into a bar? They drink a bit and they solve crimes. It's great. Grantchester was awarded season 2. They're making the most of it. They're fleshing these characters up a little bit more. They're losing characters which they shouldn't lose, but it is what it is. Excuse me. Other than that, I've been watching The West Wing.
Oh, well, there you go.
You want to see a quality show with quality writing that does not let fandoms dominate their show. The only fan of the kind of crept in the show at the end was Josh and Donna, and that happened at the end of season 7. It was kind of just like a reward for the fans. It didn't dominate the show. It didn't overtake major storylines. It didn't do any of that bullshit. It was just, yes, we know what you want. Here, we're going to give it to you at the very, very end as a reward for your patience.
Right.
And it felt organic.
Yeah.
It felt organic. They wove it into the story well.
Yeah.
So
you agree.
I watched The West Wing because I felt like watching a good show with great writing this week, with great acting, and with great fucking performances. So if you are looking for a show, as I was made aware, if you have Netflix, The West Wing is on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, go to Amazon Marketplace. Season 1 is literally like $5. Go for it.
I'm just going to say this right now. Legends of Tomorrow has all the makings of new showrunners for season 2.
Probably.
I can see that announcement coming in May.
Because it's coming back. Legends coming back.
Yeah, it's coming back. So I mean, but I think there needs to be a change there because if they haven't figured this out by now. I mean, look, I understand sometimes you have a first season problem. Look, we've seen that with shows all over the place over the years. We've seen that, You look back at a lot of the '90s shows. Not everything got off to good starts, But usually by now we have some idea. At least the show gets their personalities and characters to mesh together, and that hasn't happened yet. That is a serious problem. I mean, hey, we'll see what happens. But all right. Now, as I mentioned, one of my TV highlights was going to be last week's American Idol grand finale. Before I acknowledge that, though, I want to acknowledge the final all-time American Idol performance rankings list that you all voted for, you being the fans. Over the last couple months, from the beginning of the American Idol season back in January through last week, you were allowed to vote. We did 3 cuts as far as we had a big list. I think it was over 50. We got it down to I think 30, and then we cut it down to the final 15. That was what we wanted to kind of make it 1 for each season. Of course, that doesn't mean you're gonna have 1 from each season and be the top performances. This means that we're just taking it like 15 seasons, 15 choices. So this is the ones you voted for. This is what you all voted for. Now we have 15, but we also have a couple of honorable mentions that just barely missed the cut. So I want to acknowledge those ones first here. And those that just barely missed the cut, let me go. Okay, so we have the top 15, but just missing the cut was Blake Lewis's "You Give Love a Bad Name" from season 6, Carrie Underwood's "Alone" from season 4, Chris Daughtry's "Hemorrhage in My Hand" season 5, Fantasia Barrino, "I Believe" season 3, Philip Phil's "Volcano" season 11. And Lakeisha Jones, "I Am Telling You I'm Not Going" season 6. And David Cook, "Always Be My Baby" season 7. Those ones just missed the cut. So those are your 7 honorable mentions, and they came in that voting order. So from first to last in that voting order as far as honorable mentions go. All right, so we're going to start from 15 and work our way up to 1. Again, these are your top 15 that you all voted for as for our In the Spotlight American All-Time Performance Rankings list from the 15 seasons of American Idol. Number 15 was Jennifer Hudson's Circle of Life, Season 3. Number 14 was David Cook, Billie Jean, Season 7. 13, Haley Reinhart, The House of the Rising Sun, Season 10. Number 12, Chris Allen, Heartless, Season 8. Number 11, Bo Bice, In a Dream, Season 4. Number 10. I'm missing number 10 here. I'm sorry. Okay, there it is. Catherine McPhee, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Season 5. Number 9, Fantasia Barrino, Summertime, Season 3. Number 8, David Cook, Hello, Season 7. Number 7, Joshua Ledet, This Is a Man's World, Season 11. Number 6, David Archuleta, Imagine, Season 7. Number 5, Tamara Gray, A House That's Not a Home, Season 1. Number 4, Adam Lambert, The Tracks of My Tears, Season 8. Number 3, Clay Aiken, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Season 2. Number 2, Adam Lambert, Mad World, Season 8. And the number 1 performance on our In the Spotlight American All-Time Performance Ranking, voted on by you, was Kelly Clarkson, A Moment Like This, Season 1. So I think you all went for nostalgia there because, that's a great performance. I think some of these other ones were better, personally. Because I'm not on Kelly. I like Kelly, but I probably would have went with the Clay Aiken one over that, even the Adam Lambert one over that, personally, but that's just me. So I'm not really surprised. A lot of these, every time you see a list, a performance rankings list or something, a lot of these end up on there some way, shape, or form. But, you look at these lists and you look at, those names those performances that we cut over the last couple of weeks, among the names you saw out on there routinely were Kelly, Carrie, Adam Lambert, Clay Aiken a couple times, David Cook's on there quite a bit, Chris Daughtry, Jennifer Hudson, Philip Phillips has a couple of great ones. So, you see a lot of these same names. I think the most popular ones, Adam Lambert is definitely one that you see very much on. Like, if you look at a list of 50, usually you see about maybe 10 Adam Lambert performances. And about 5 or 6 David Cooks, and then a couple Kellys and a couple Carries. And that's usually the most names you see. Those are the most prominent names, But I think it's a good list. You could quibble with rankings and such like that. I think it's a good list. So kudos to all of you on that, on voting on that. I think you all did a great job with that. So, but as far as the finale goes, look, I thought that if you didn't see the documentary last Tuesday night, they started with the documentary thing. I thought it was really well done. From having the winners on to the old past and current judges, producers, they gave you the whole story on how the show came to the U.S., how it all came together with Fox and the judges, its development, the changes throughout the years, the cultural impact from Ryan Seacrest teaching fans how to text vote and really inspiring the texting movement to implementing iTunes into the show. And I thought it was, they covered every base. It was really well done. They even explained to you why this year was the last year and how Fox wanted to keep the show, but they wanted to go out on a high. They didn't want to cut the budget any further. And then they left you with the impression, they've been hinting at this all season long, but they left you with the impression that they plan to bring the show back now, not as it was, but in a different kind of format. I think what really is, in addition to the fact that Fox wanted to cut the budget again, which they had done every year for the last few years, I think what basically they want to do is, so much has happened, and they've been able to implement a lot of things like iTunes and Google, and they've tried to change the voting the last couple of years after having similar winners every year, and basically it's been a lot of Band-Aids, all right? And you can only go so far putting Band-Aids on some of the issues you've developed over the years. And I think they feel like they've gotten to a spot where the best thing to do is to maybe take it off for a season or two, bring it back in a format similar, but with all the new technologies and with different things implemented to make the show as great as it once was, where they can be the standard as far as these uh, singing singing competitions go, and start finding true stars again. And that's not. And look, I don't want to bash anybody from the last couple years. All right, but they haven't had a true star since Philip Phillips. I mean, Nick Fradiani last year had the one song. All right, but you know what? They haven't had a true star since Philip Phillips, and that's 4 seasons ago. They lost their way. That season 12 kind of destroyed what was left of the show, and they lost their way. And so it's a good. I think if they're, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to bring it back. It's for a network. It's cheap entertainment. They can keep the budget in line. The fact of the matter is, I mean, they can, if they can go back to the original premise of the show and have judges that are from the music industry and not superstars. No disrespect to Keith Urban and Harry and Jennifer, they've been great judges, but they go back to where it's just the judges are not kind of overwhelming the contestants. I think the budget can be kept in check, and you can have a really good show. And if you implement the new technologies and stuff, you can have a good thing going again. Just got to be careful with the voting, and I think you have to kind of tweak things to the point where you're not getting the same contestants over and over and over again, because that's what's going on. You're getting everybody's coming into the show now trying to be almost a cardboard cutout of somebody that came before. They want to come in being the next Carrie or the next Kelly or the next Daughtry or the next Adam Lambert. Instead of them coming in doing that, they should come in and try to be somebody themselves and be something different, or their own artists. And that's something that you want to try to cultivate in the next version of this that you do. But so they're hinting around that it's not the end. They had the final performance show last Wednesday, which I thought was very mediocre. The song choices were horrible, and you can't blame the contestants for that. The show did it too. The coronations, I know Keith Urban wrote one of them. And it wasn't bad, but I mean, for the final season of Idol and the last song you're going to sing to end the series, and that was kind of, the whole thing was just kind of anticlimactic and just mellow. And I kind of, there's a cheesy part of me that wants to go back to the early season, have this over dramatic, emotional kind of big thing, and you really didn't get that. And look, I thought the best choice for the winner was Dalton at the end. Because I mean, they've lost a lot of talented people the last couple of weeks. I kind of took the win. LaPortia is very talented, very talented. I don't have an issue with her there. Trent's fine. I just there's a million like him. There's a couple other people there that I thought were more unique and I thought would have been more attention grabbing. But so I mean, it was all right for what it was. Obviously, you know what? Maybe it was for the best, because no matter how good the top two were, they were going to get overwhelmed by everybody else on that show, all the returning winners and alumni and judges. And it was obviously great to see the original judges and Simon's surprise appearance and Kara performing. And, there was a lot of great stuff. They were able to get Philip Phillips there despite the contract dispute. Great performances, great duets. I could have lived without Jennifer Lopez taking up 10 minutes of airtime. But see, that's the problem. I can't really blame Keith and Harry. They perform, but they don't really overwhelm things. Jennifer overwhelms things. Everything's about her. And she's a good judge, but that's why I'm talking about when I say you got to kind of get things back, the balance back of having the contestants be the highlight. And bringing Dunkelman back with Seacrest and Kelly's medley. There was a lot of great moments. It was a great 2 hours and 10 minutes. A lot of fun, but you know what the interesting thing about it is, other than the ending and other than the surprise appearances, all the performances, I still think that, even though it felt like a series finale, but the Simon's farewell in season 9 felt more emotional than this one did. Like, if you really look at, even though they had a great season 10, a pretty good season 11, it did feel like season 9, when Simon left, was more of that true what you'd expect from an American Idol finale, series finale, than you would this. I mean, yes, this had great performances, and it had that sentiment in a lot of ways, but that one, I don't know, had more of an emotional punch to me. And then it doesn't help that at the end, Ryan gets all emotional and says goodbye, but then says for now. So you're like, oh, well, maybe it's not the end. I mean, I've already acknowledged that. So I think they did a good job. This season could have been better. It was okay. It was better than the last couple. But I think, the documentary was great. Performance show was and then the 2 hour series finale I thought was very good. I thought they did a good job with it. And again, I think there's a lot of value in them coming back with it and revamping it. I think Fox doesn't have a lot of hits, so they're probably itching at the fact of doing it. And look, I mean, it's still. I mean, the series finale didn't bring as many. I saw a lot of people go, well, the series finale didn't bring back as many viewers as expected. Only got the show to 13. Well, it's been averaging 9 or 10 million viewers a week. This is not this day and age. You don't draw 28, 30 million like American Idol did in the mid 2005, 2006. Sorry, you just don't. All right, because the fact is, with YouTube and everything, they can just watch the performances online. And it skews too young, so it's not. That's just the way it is. It made it in that, and you know what? Hey, 10 to 13 million viewers a week this nowadays is good. It is. It's good. With everything going on, there's so many different ways to watch things, as we all know. The audience is segregated and divided, and you can't, so you're not going to get those big numbers anymore. But there's still a lot of value in having that kind of show on your network. It's cheaper entertainment, so. So that's it. After 15 seasons, it ends, and now we kind of have an idea that it will be back in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's probably not going to be till I'd imagine 2017 at the earliest. 2018 at the earliest, but it'll be back, and we'll see what happens. It should be interesting. Mike, I know you hate the show. Do you have anything to add before I move on here?
No.
Fair enough. That's what I thought.
I
just wanted to give you the 4. I just want to give you 4. Hey, you can't complain. I got that done reasonably well in 10 minutes. So at least you got that. And considering I haven't talked about that show in a long time, that's pretty good for me. All right. So in other entertainment news, now I had a plan for what we were going to pool and talk about this because we haven't done any news discussion in a while because there hasn't been much to talk about. I had a plan for what we were going to discuss and such. But then I kind of tossed it out because a lot of you are emailing me about things that you wanted us to talk about that have come out in the entertainment world lately. So I want to basically run this segment through what you all want us to talk about. So that's what we're going to do here in this segment. So I'm going to use the email box to kind of filter this segment and run down this segment here. If I could ever get my internet to work here, and it's not. I blame Google.
Yep.
Hey, I was just moving along. I can't help that Google's slow. Hey, Google, wake up. Well, that sucks. All right. I can't get in the email box. Well, that's not cool. It won't let me update here. Hang on a second. I apologize. It's just not working right now. It was working. It's not anymore. That's not cool. Maybe it's just... Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay, now I got it. All right, I just had to open another... Okay. All right, so... All right, let's get to this news, which, I guess maybe people have Marvel fever or something. And big news today, the creative minds behind Deadpool, who have just confirmed that there will be a Deadpool sequel, no duh, mentioned that they're very interested in having a Deadpool and Spider-Man crossover and have reached and are already in the midst of reaching out to Sony and Marvel to discuss the possibility of that happening. What do you think the chances of them working out a deal to use Deadpool in movies with Spider-Man are? And do you think there's also possibilities to cross over X-Men with the Marvel movies as well? Okay, first of all, I think this is not going to be very contentious because here's the thing: since Sony and Marvel, first of all, doing it, even if they're negotiating and discussing this week, it's perfect timing. Not only because of Deadpool's success, but because of how successful apparently Spider-Man is in Captain America: Civil War. That's the highlight of everybody's review, apparently. To that end, I think it's a I think it's not so much they can't work out a deal. Okay, I think they can work out a deal if they want to do a crossover. I think Marvel would be pretty keen on that. But here's the issue: if they want to maintain Deadpool as an R-rated property, first of all, Disney might be very reluctant about that, and Disney, of course, is involved with Spider-Man now through Marvel. And if they want to do some kind of like crossover movie or something like that, it's going to get very dicey. The whole R-rated aspect of Deadpool is going to get very dicey here. Because when you keep Deadpool on his own, and even if you involve some action with him, you can kind of keep it R-rated. But if you're going to start bringing in the Avengers or Spider-Man or whatever, and it's under the Disney Marvel label, just what Fox involved, I don't think that it's going to be easy. I don't know how they're going to work that out, that whole R-rated aspect of it. As far as X-Men, I think it'll be easier because you can keep it. Obviously, Disney will be like, hey, you know what? The rating doesn't have to change. There's nothing R-rated about this. But with Deadpool, it's just so much of his success was because they kept it so close to the source material by making it R-rated that maybe you risk watering the character down if you make it hard PG-13 and then throwing him in with Spider-Man. And I don't know. There's a lot there that I'd be worried about. I don't worry about the negotiations because I think that after Marvel kind of broke bread with Sony and worked things out for Spider-Man, I think anything's possible now. But that's the part that I would think would be the biggest hurdle is the R-rated aspect of Deadpool. Micah, would you agree?
Almost 100%, actually. In fact, I was going to bring up that R-rated point myself, so thanks you saved me time from talking. But yeah, the main contentions are Deadpool's R rating and money.
Right.
They can work out the money, but Disney Marvel is not going to have Spider-Man appear in an R-rated movie. If they're willing to kind of dial back Deadpool's swearing, it could happen. It could, but you got to tell we're talking money again. As for the X-Men appearing in Avengers movies and this yeah, we're probably going to see that.
Yeah,
we're probably going to see that. In fact, Wolverine might be in one or two of these coming up. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's a far easier transition to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay. James Cameron has announced that there will be not 3 but 4 Avatar sequels, which will begin to be released in 2018. Considering the first movie was released in 2009, do you think these movies will have any remaining relevancy by the time they're released, and how do you think they will be as successful as their predecessor?
No, and no, they won't be as successful as their predecessor because they've seen 3D movies since.
Yeah.
Does it matter? No. Maybe James Cameron should just shut his mouth and try to get the first one out. That's my thought. Let me see the second one out.
You know what I think the problem's going to... First of all, I think the second one will probably do very, very well. I don't think it'll do as good as the first one, but I think it'll probably get to $2 billion. But I think the reason it will is because of curiosity, because that's the way they're going to sell it. They're like, well, what else can he do? They're already hinting around like, oh, he's trying all... The reason why it's taken so long is he's trying all these new technologies. They're going to try to sell the experience again, and people will bite on that. They shouldn't, but they will. But then I think here's the problem. Because, obviously you're going to get the second one out and then the third and the fourth. And it's only going to be a year or two difference in between those movies. They're going to film them all at once. There's not going to be anything special about the third and the fourth versus the second because you waited 9 years between the first and the second. There was a building up of that. You're kind of using the fact that it took you forever to make the movie to your advantage there. But when you start releasing them every couple years, they're going to lose that anticipation, that special quality in a way, whether you like the movie or not. So I think the second one will probably do $1.5 billion to $2 billion, and then they're going to drop off at that, and people are just going to stop caring. Unless that second one is a better movie than the first one, which I don't expect to be. But if it were to, by some chance it were to be a good movie, then maybe it could, but I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Um. Okay. Oh, I want to also send a congratulations out to Ryan Reynolds. Apparently, he's expecting baby number 2 with Blake Lively. So there's that. Um. After the success of the first Kingsman movie, it seems like Matthew Vaughn is going for a more star-studded cast in the second one, including casting Channing Tatum, Julianne Moore, and rumored to be casting Elton John in a role in the film. Do you think this is just stunt casting to try to up the box office further, or do you think that this is just a case of him actually believing that these are the right characters for the roles? I don't think they need a stunt cast because the first one did very well. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I don't, he casted the first movie. Samuel L. Jackson was a villain because he said it suited the role. He's casting Julianne Moore because it suits the role. The only person he said that he's kind of stunt casting with is Elton John because he said he already had a visual in mind for something he wanted to do. It's not so much about the character; it's just that he had this kind of idea in mind to do something with Elton John. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's stunt casting. Look, it's first of all, it's nice to see Matthew Vaughn actually returning to direct a sequel. About time, just saying. But anyway, I mean, I don't think it's stunt casting. First of all, the first one did great. It was a surprise success. I don't think that's in any way, shape, or form a problem. Mike, you have anything to add?
I'm glad Elton John is going to be in Kingsman 2. Is that the stunt cast? Yes.
Yes.
Because Elton John, Elton John's a singer. He's a singer, piano player. He's a legend in music. He's been in some movies here and there. He's written legendary scores and soundtracks for movies. But you know what? It is what it is. He's got an actual reason to be there. Good for Elton. No, I don't have anything else to say, really.
Okay. Well, this next fan wants to appeal to you, apparently. As I know, Mike is apparently a fan of Princess Bride.
Yeah.
I want to know his opinion on the news that came out yesterday that Mandy Patinkin and Carrie Elways are going to be starring in a movie together once again called The Queen of Spain, a Penelope Cruz dramedy. Oh, wow. Sorry. Hang on. Sorry about that. That was interesting. Sorry, there was an ad unexpectedly that popped up. I didn't block all of them. Let me repeat that. Mandy Patinkin.
Mandy Patinkin. Mandy Patinkin.
I always pronounce his name wrong. I'm sorry. And Carrie Elways are both starring in a film called The Queen of Spain, a Penelope Cruz dramedy directed by Fernando Treba. This film will be, I don't know when the release date is, but that's what he said. So apparently this fan wants to know, after 30 years, how do you feel about seeing them reunited in a film together?
You
didn't even know about this.
Well, you know what? Well, see, it does bad kind of concept. Mandy Patinkin has not done a bunch of movies recently. And you know what? Neither is really Carrie Elways. So seeing them kind of make that transition back to the theater would be fine. I actually can't wait to see it. It sounds interesting. So I'd be interested to see what they're going to do.
We have another R-rated question. It was announced today that the Batman: The Killing Joke will be the first DC Universe original movie that's rated R. Do you think this is in response to the success of Deadpool and to the fact that Batman vs. Superman will have an R-rated cut when it is released on Blu-ray, or do you think this is simply the content dictating it? I think it's both.
Yep.
I think it's both. First of all, if you know that story, you know it probably should be R-rated. I don't think there's any question about that. But I do think, obviously, look, we know the only reason why they're releasing the R-rated cut of Batman versus Superman is because of Deadpool. They probably weren't going to do that before. They announced it like 2 days after Deadpool came out, so there's that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of combination. I think Deadpool's success made them feel comfortable with doing that. I think that's pretty much the only real true connection in that regard. Yeah. So, apparently Trey Parker is going to voice the villain in Despicable Me 3. That's interesting. That's not an email. That's not email. That's not email. That's not something anyone emailed to me. I just read that for some reason. Oh, another email from Mike. This has been a great week for Benedict Cumberbatch fans. What is your reaction to the Doctor Strange trailer and also to the news that Benedict Cumberbatch will voice the Grinch in a new animated movie in 2017?
I could care less about the Grinch thing, but they got a good voice actor for it. Doctor Strange looks hype as hell.
Yeah.
Like like you said, it's Inception meets Batman Begins.
Oh, it is.
Meets Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm like, you know what? It has a lot of those elements, and it looks hella fun. So I'm totally in with Doctor Strange. I actually can't wait to see it. That's going to be required Thursday showing when it comes out. Used to be a midnight showing. Now we're talking about Thursday showing.
The interesting thing about that movie is the fact that that's been Kevin Feige's baby for the last 8-9 years since they started the MCU. But they've been the images, some of the things that you're getting in that movie, they've been working on for so long. Like even before they chose a director, they had all these ideas for set pieces and different things they wanted in the movie. They had all these different visuals in mind. And it's something that creatively you can tell they're all just so invested in, because of how unique it is. And you can, you only got 2 minutes of footage and you can see that in the movie and how different it is and how surreal it's going to be. It's going to be an experience. That's one movie you might be interested in checking out, like IMAX or something, because it's going to have that vibe to it. So, yeah, Kevin Hart made, headlines this week for saying that he'll never go out on a stand-up tour again. Or that's what he believes anyway. Do you think why do you think he's doing this? And do you think this will end up hurting his very, very surging film career? First, let me tell you this.
No, it won't hurt him at all. It won't hurt him.
No, it won't hurt him. But I'm not surprised. First of all, I went and saw him last year in September. First time I had seen him live. First of all, he's great to see, but you know what? He's first of all, the only reason why he was still doing these tours was because of doing HBO specials with him or DVDs and not HBO specials, I should say, but he was making stand-up movies to be released in theaters. This tour he had last year is going to be released in theaters, I think, sometime in the fall or something like that, I believe. That's the only reason why he was still even doing them now. His schedule is so busy. I don't even think he has the time to do it anymore. I really don't. So I do not think it's going to hurt him. And I think he did seem like if you went and saw him on tour, and this is not a knock on him, I completely understand. It did seem like he was frustrated because now that he's become so popular, and obviously he wants to put these things out in theaters. So, people couldn't use their phones. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. And he gets easily frustrated if they did do that. I just think the whole thing was frustrating for him. He probably just wants to stick to movies at this point. And he's entitled to that. He can always go back to it later on when his schedule lightens up. Doesn't have to keep with it. It's just, But, yeah, so. All right, let's see. Is there anything else? I don't think. Wow, we got through that really, really, really quick. Which is a good thing because we can get off early. Yeah, I think we covered everything. All right, everything else we covered everything. That was what most of you had emailed me about, so that's good. Again, I thought it was better to do this segment like this, with actually reading your guys' emails, asking about certain news that came out. That way, we're actually addressing things that you want our reactions to and stuff, and not just going, "Oh, look, here's some news. Here you go, boom, boom, boom." So I thought that was better to do it that way. We haven't done a segment like that in a while, dictated by your emails and such. So I thought that'd be a lot better way to do it than just pointing out our segment based on all the entertainment news that I found that I thought you'd be interested in and going from there. So I thought that worked better. So yeah, all right. I think that is it. That's all we're going to cover tonight. So as always, just because the show is over does not mean you have to stop interacting or contributing to our show. You can continue to have your voice heard and give us your suggestions, questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, reactions or comments to topics or things we discuss on the show or things we said on the show, questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, ideas, suggestions, feedback. Any of those things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Again, please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight401, hashtag ITS5, which represents our 5th anniversary of the year as a podcast. Or be creative and create your own hashtag using hashtag ITS, whatever you want to do, hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Basketball, whatever you want to do, be creative. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure you like our page upon finding it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to scheduling. That's the best way to get information about scheduling in case there's any last-minute changes to anything. As far as keeping up with our show and checking out old episodes, you have a couple of ways in which to do that. If you're somebody that likes checking us out here on Google Plus and YouTube and likes the streaming aspect, seeing us on screen. And maybe if of course, if you're only interested in seeing episodes that we've only produced here on Google Plus and YouTube, which is everything from the middle of October till now, including tonight's episode, then you want to make sure if any of that applies to you, you want to make sure you check us out here on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 and you'll have access to our full channels on both sites. You have access to all the episodes from mid-October right until tonight. And you can stream them anytime, whether you missed a show, maybe missed a part of a show, you want to check out an episode again, whatever the case may be, you can do all that here on Google Plus and YouTube for all of our more recent episodes from the last 5-6 months or so. Now, if you're somebody that prefers the audio format of podcasting, and maybe you're either an old, longtime fan that wants to check out old episodes from way back when, from before middle of October last year, or maybe you're a new fan that wants to check out older episodes, and see what we're all about even before we got on Google Plus and YouTube. Or you just might be a fan that just likes the audio format of podcasting and wants to check out any of our episodes on an audio format anytime you wish. Whatever the case may be, you can check us out on Podbean and iTunes. On Podbean, if you search for In the Spotlight 401, you'll have access to every episode we've ever done, whether it was from our early days on Blog Talk Radio from October 2010 to January 2011, or from our talk show run from January 2011 all the way to October of last year. Or, obviously we were also on Libsyn and iTunes, and all those episodes are on there as well. Also all the same episodes. And then of course, even our Google Plus and YouTube stuff that we've done from October to now is on there. It's all transferred into audio format. So any episode we've ever done from October 2010 right up until tonight is on Podbean in order from the most recent date to the oldest. So you find the episode you want and click on it, it'll play for you. So if you're whether you missed a part of an episode or want to check out an episode again, or you're a longtime fan that wants to look back at episodes, whatever the case, you can do all that on Podbean. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on there. You can also do all that on iTunes, but do keep in mind it's separated into two parts. If you're looking for anything from October 2010 to the middle part of October 2011, you want to search for us under our old title, In the Spotlight with Brian Gardner, and you will find those episodes on iTunes. If you want anything from the middle part of October of last year, October 2015, all the way up until tonight, you will search for us under our current title, In the Spotlight 411, and you'll have access through those episodes. We are working on bringing those together so you don't have to do that anymore, but for right now, that is the way it is, so please do keep that in mind. So Podbean, iTunes, Google+, YouTube, that's the ways that you can keep up with our show, look back at old episodes, whether in audio or streaming format, so keep all that information in mind if you are in need of it. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you very much, Mike.
It is time for bed, even this early, I know. So 11 pages, we're going to sleep.
I want to thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching, and for those that will be watching or listening later, thank you to you as well. Again, we'll be back with 2 shows next week. Still, we're normal schedule next week, just like this week. Tuesday will be a sports and wrestling show, so we'll do a lot of NBA stuff. We'll cover Kobe Bryant's amazing farewell, Golden State's record-breaking record-breaking performance this season. We'll talk about the NBA playoffs, give our official NBA playoff preview, talk about any playoff games that already happened because they will be starting on Saturday. Lots of NBA on Tuesday, and then any other sports headlines we have to cover. And also we'll cover wrestling, Bray Wyatt's injury, anything else that comes about. And then next Thursday, our usual entertainment show, box office beat, TV highlights, entertainment news discussion. And again, we're probably going to do a special entertainment segment. I don't know what yet. I was going to announce it tonight. I got two ideas. I keep going back and forth. One of which depends on if a certain piece of news gets out before Tuesday. If it does, then I'll know what segment I want to do. If it doesn't, then I'll have to pretty much figure it out. But I'll give you some idea on Tuesday about what's going to be, what we're going to, if there's going to be a special segment on Thursday, I'll give you some idea. But that's a little insight into what's coming up next week. So until then, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, and a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Tuesday night, broadcasting and streaming live here on Google Plus and YouTube at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time this coming Tuesday night, which is April the 19th. 8 o'clock Eastern Time here on Google Plus and YouTube. Until then, I hope you all have a great night. See you next week.